to John 5. As Nate just said a moment ago, we are working our way through John in this series. And today we're in John chapter 5. So if you have a Bible, open it. If an app or something, whatever it is, get there. And we're going to start right at the top, John 5, verse 1, looking at this story about Jesus healing a guy and a bunch of conversations with some Jewish leaders as well. So here we go, John 5, verse 1. Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. And one who had been there, an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "well, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." And at once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. As we go through this story this morning, I want us to follow the mat, right? This man's mat that he has, that we read about. And it's going to give some structure and direction to where we're going. So the first thing I want to say about the mat that this guy is sitting on is that the mat represents our helplessness. The mat is a place of helplessness. This man we just read had been on his mat for how long? 38 years, sitting on this thing, helpless, hoping that he can get down to the pool. So the superstition was that whenever these waters bubble and stir, the first guy down there gets healed. He, of course, has no one to carry him. He can't get there. And so healing has not happened in his life. I brought with me a mat here this morning, just as we kind of go through this to kind of relate our lives to. So here's the man's mat. Not exactly like this, but you know, it looks cool. And he's sitting on it and in a place of helplessness. This mat, for us as well, is a place of helplessness. And it could be that you're on a mat right now, right? In a place of helplessness right now. Could be a physical condition, a mental or emotional ailment that you're dealing with that's causing you to feel or to be in a place of helplessness. It could be an unhealthy relationship that puts you there. It could be an addiction or a bad habit that's keeping you down. It could be like an area of sin that you just are keeping hidden. You hope nobody ever finds out about. Anything that pulls us down to this place and holds us there is our mat of helplessness. A little over a year ago, I started jiu-jitsu with my son, Colton. He's a freshman now in high school. And if you don't know what jiu-jitsu is, just think wrestling and you're close enough. And so we're at the place, we're brand new. My instructor's friend was there that night. He's a black belt, older guy, big guy, big guy. And we start rolling, which is like, you know, at the end, and within seconds, and we're literally on a mat, you do this on a mat, I'm on the mat, flat on my back, and this guy is like lying on the side across me, putting all this pressure on me, and I just remember in that moment thinking like, I don't know what to do, because I couldn't move. And I feel like I'm going to die, right? Because he's pushing down like right about here, like, you know, where you breathe. And I started thinking about that, and I'm like, man, isn't that like pretty much exactly how we feel when we're in this place of helplessness? We don't know what to do to get out of that place. And sometimes we feel like we're going to die, right? I've been there, you've been there, maybe you're there right now. There's times where, you know, in your marriage, it's been like, God, I feel helpless in this. I want to do the right thing. What is that? I don't know how to move forward. As a parent, I felt like, God, how do I parent my kid at this time in this way? I feel helpless. I don't know what to do, and things are not good. Last night, after the service, someone said, recently, my spouse passed away. And I'm sitting on my mat of helplessness. I need Jesus to help me up off of it. Well, Jesus asks him a question. It's the same question that he asks us when we are on our mat in this place of helplessness. And the question is, do you want to be healed? Right? That's what he says. That Jesus comes to the man, and the first thing he says to him is simply, do you want to be healed? It's a genuine question, because it's possible that maybe the man would say no. I mean, sometimes it's a little counterintuitive, but even though we're in a rough, horrible place, we're sort of used to it, we know what to expect. It's not comfortable, but it's what we know. We can kind of make it a comfortable sell. And I didn't come up with that phrase. I was reading a story this past week of, in 1993, it was reported that these Franciscan nuns in Prague, they converted the basement of their facility into a motel in order to get some income to help with their ministry that they're doing. But formerly, the downstairs area of this facility that they're in was used by the communists to imprison and to torture their enemies. And what they had done is they kept it authentic. They kept it like prison cells, but they made it comfortable enough where people would be willing to spend $33 a night to come and stay there. They made a comfortable cell. And sometimes maybe we're here and it's become a comfortable cell. But Jesus wants to help us up out of that. It's not a place where we belong. Or sometimes we're here and maybe we do want out. We feel helpless, but we don't know how, and we don't know if God's like big enough and able to do it. Our view of God is too small. And I love how Jesus opens the eyes of the Jewish leaders a little bit later. He has a conversation with them. We're going to jump down to verse 21. And I just encourage you, man, just read this whole chapter this week. We don't have time to go through it all, but he's having a conversation with Jewish leaders. Verse 21, look what he says about what our view of God should be like. For just as the Father, talking about God the Father, raises the dead and gives them life, even so the Son gives life to whom he is pleased to give it. Man, whenever our view of God becomes too small, go back to this story. Go back to that verse and remind yourself, God, my view of you has grown too small. You have the ability to raise the dead, to give life to whomever you please. This man responds to Jesus, not fully knowing that he's maybe that big, but responds to him and responds to this question of, do you want to be healed? By essentially saying to him, yes, I do. But here's the thing. I'm waiting for the waters to get stirred, and it's unpredictable when that's going to happen. But hey, basically, like if you're willing to get me there and carry me down there, that's great. Just make sure that no chump cuts us off at the pass and beats us there, because then we won't get it. And Jesus, of course, right? He's not interested in any of that. He's not interested in any of that. These waters, they're unpredictable of when they're even going to bubble in the first place. And Jesus is standing there saying, you realize that I am a stable, constant source of life for you. And you have no way to get to these pools, and you get cut off when you get there. And even if you do, right, it's just, at best, it's going to heal you physically. I can heal you both physically and spiritually. I can heal you as a whole person. So here's the deal. Stand up, pick up your mat, and walk. So picture this, right? The guy's sitting down here on his mat, 38 years. And for the first time, he feels something happening inside of him, I would assume, right? Some type of energy, some type of power, all of a sudden some type of life comes in him. His muscles start coming alive. He goes to move his legs. For the 38-year first time he moves his legs, starts to stand up. He's like, I can't believe this is actually happening. And he makes his way up, and he's on his feet. What is this guy thinking and feeling? Amazement, I would assume, right? Holy cow, this is incredible. Stand up, pick up your mat and walk. I find it interesting that Jesus slips in that middle phrase. I get that Jesus says, hey, stand up and walk. But did you notice he says, and pick up your mat? So can I be honest? Here's what I'm thinking. I wish Jesus actually would have said to him, leave your mat. Because that would make a great sermon, right? Wouldn't it? I mean, just entertain me for a moment. Like, guys, What do you need to stand up from and leave your mat behind like Jesus tells you to, and then go walk in a new direction? That'd be a great message, wouldn't it? Jesus totally ruins my sermon and tells the guy, instead of telling him to leave his mat, he doesn't care about my sermon again. He tells him, oh, no. No, pick up your mat. But so here's the thing. Jesus, obviously, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's saying. He knows why he's saying it. It's not an accident. I think when Jesus tells him, pick up your mat, in a Jesus way, he's picking a fight. A little bit. Let's jump back to the story. I'll show you what I mean. Verse 9. So once the man was cured, he picked up his mat and he walked. The day on which this took place was a Sabbath. That's a super important detail. And so the Jewish leaders said to the man who had been healed, it is the Sabbath. The law forbids you to carry your mat. But he replied, well, the man who made me well, he just said to me, pick up your mat and walk. And so they asked him, well, who is this fellow who told you to pick it up and walk? And the man who was healed had no idea who it was, for Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. So the man stands up and, pick up my mat. Okay, I'll pick up my mat. Picks up his mat, throws it on his shoulder. He starts walking. This is awesome. Best day of my life. Right? But when we carry our mat, it invites criticism. Carrying our mat will invite criticism. Here, this mat goes along. It doesn't take long. All of a sudden, he's confronted by these Jewish leaders. Hey, excuse me, what are you doing? Oh, man, this guy, this is amazing. 38 years, he healed me. I can walk for the first time. Don't care about that. No, your mat. You're carrying a mat. You realize it's the Sabbath. You're not allowed to. I don't know. The guy who made me well, he told me to carry it, so I'm carrying it. I don't know. Here's what Jesus knows, though. Jesus knows that in the law, the Torah, it doesn't actually say you can't carry a mat. It talks about the Sabbath, of course, observe the Sabbath, don't work on the Sabbath, more from a vocational standpoint. It's the Jewish leaders, get this, it's their interpretation of the law, it's their understanding of it, it's their opinion, it's their added rules and guidelines to it that say you can't carry an object from one area or domain into another, which is exactly what the guy's doing. Why are you breaking the Sabbath? And who told you to do that? Who will this man listen to, right, is what he's faced with. He feels the pressure. Do you feel it? He's sandwiched in between Jesus on one side and these Jewish leaders on the other side. And will he listen to the Jewish leaders? He doesn't want to make them angry. His life just got good. It just got great. The last thing he wants to do is make these leaders all upset and angry with him. So will he listen to them? Or will he listen to the guy that the very reason why he can even stand and walk and carry the mat in the first place is because of the healing of what he just did in his life? It doesn't take long before listening to Jesus gets hard. And the key question is, who will you listen to? Carrying your mat invites criticism. Who will you listen to? It was the end of last summer. I was at the gym one day. I got straw all over me. I was at the gym one day and ran into a friend of mine. He too is a pastor in the area here. Someone I've known for a long time, older than me, been a pastor longer than I've been, have a lot of respect for him. And so we were just catching up a little bit. I hadn't seen him in a long, long time. How's family, how's kids, all that. And then, of course, knowing that we're both in ministry, we said, how's church, how's ministry going, what's that like? And he said, man, I'll be honest with you, we're going through a really hard season right now, a really tough time, as a church as a whole. It's like, oh, sorry to hear that. How come? What's going on? As pastors and leaders in our church, we have really been seeking after God and really been listening to him. And we believe that he wants us and is telling us to take a stand for some things right now, like openly, kind of vocally, like to really take a stand. I know he's talking about racism. We're convicted. We need to do this as a church. And as leaders, we've been seeking God, we're listening to him. But people, the criticism, it's off the charts. People are upset. They're angry. They're writing to us. They're questioning us. We've even had many, not like a couple, not a few, many people leave the church over this. Who will you listen to? It's exactly where he was in, right? And this is true of all of us. You've been there. You might be there right now. Anytime someone basically says to you, there's no way you can listen to Jesus and fill in the blank, right? We're in the place of carrying our mat, caught between the two. What are we going to do? There's no way you could be listening to Jesus and vote for that person. There's no way. No, not possible. Right? There's no way that you could be listening to Jesus and not read your Bible every single day. Or pray. Well, it wasn't that funny, but thank you. Thank you. No, you're with me, and that's good. Stay with me. I love it. There's no way that you could be listening to Jesus and not pray at least 3 times a day. I mean, at least. And you do more, fine, but at least 3. There's no way that you could be listening to Jesus and not get vaccinated or get vaccinated, whichever way you want to go. There's no way that you could actually be listening to Jesus and still be watching from home. Love you. Hope you come back soon. Right? There's no way. Yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe you are. There's no way that you could be listening to Jesus and raise your kids that way. There's no way, not possible. There's no way that you could be listening to Jesus and have women pastors and elders at your church. That was our story some years back when we really intentionally made that change. People upset, some people left. But what was it? But we're saying, look, we're listening to God. This is the mat he's telling us to pick up and carry. We're listening to him. So who are we going to listen to? That is the key question. And it's the question essentially that they asked the guy, right? Man, you're carrying your mat. Who told you you could carry your mat today? Who are you listening to? Here's what they're thinking, by the way. The Jewish leaders that say that. What they're thinking is, whoever it is that told you, they are wrong. And our voice is more important. What we think is more important, we are right. I promise you they were thinking that. Of course, the irony is, Jesus is the one that told him that. Who is this person? And Jesus actually goes on a few verses later to answer their question directly, right? Who am I? Who is this man? Who's telling you to carry your mat? And his answer essentially is, well, I'm God. So there is that, which is why I told him and why it's okay. It's kind of a big deal, actually. Look at this. We'll look at it together. Jump down to verse 16. So because Jesus was doing these things on the Sabbath, the Jewish leaders, they began to persecute him. And in his defense, here's the response. In his defense, Jesus said to them, my Father is always at his work to this very day, and I too am working. And for this reason, they tried all the more to kill him. Not only was he breaking the Sabbath, but he was even calling God his own Father, making himself equal to God. So here's the thing. Jesus is saying, and follow this, it helps us see Jesus clearly. Jesus says, hey, just as the Father, talking about God in heaven, just as the Father is always working, I too am working. When Jesus says that, he's putting himself on equal footing, equal ground as God the Father. So here's God the Father, here's me, equal. And just as he is always working, which the Jewish leaders, they wouldn't have a problem with that, right? God in heaven can work on the Sabbath, yes. Why? Well, he upholds the universe. That happens at all times, including the Sabbath. The life comes into the world that he's a part of. That happens at all, including that. So he sort of gets a pass. God in heaven can work at all times. And Jesus says, just as God is always at work, you're okay with that, right? I too am always working. Why? We're the same. We're of the same essence. He is divine God in the heavens. I am divine God standing before you. We're the same. They got it. That's why we read that they tried to kill him and eventually did kill him for it, because he was making himself equal, the same as God. The question is, who will we listen to? And here's the thing, Jesus's voice, it's always better, right? It's always better. Listening to Jesus, when he tells you to carry your mat, whatever that is, listening to him will never lead you down a bad path. Never take you down a wrong road. Never. Andy Stanley, he's a pastor in Atlanta, written a bunch of books. Maybe you've seen something, read something. I love how he responds to this when he's asked, why do you listen to Jesus? Why do you follow him? Right? All these critics all around, all the criticism. Why do you stick with Jesus and do that? And he says, because his voice is better. Here's the thing. Because Jesus makes my life better and he makes me better at life. That's what he says. He's better. Right? He makes my life better. Jesus, he brings me forgiveness and healing. He gives me hope and joy and peace and comfort. He gives my life meaning and purpose and significance. He loves me just as I am and not as I should be. He makes my life better and he makes me better at life. I'm a better husband because of Jesus. Right? I'm a better dad, parent because of Jesus. I'm a better boss, manager, coworker, friend, neighbor, all those things. I'm better at them because of Jesus. He's better and he's never going to take you down a wrong road. So what does this man do then when he's faced with this question himself? What does he do? How does he respond? We'll wrap up the story here, verse 14. Later, Jesus found him at the temple. So this is the second time Jesus finds him. And said to him, "See, you are well again. Stop sinning or something worse may happen to you." The man went away and told the Jewish leaders that it was Jesus who had made him well. So what does the man do? Here he is. He has his mat. He's holding it, right? Jesus told him to pick it up and carry it. He's sandwiched in between them and listen to them. What am I going to do? And he decides to ditch the mat, to dump it. And instead goes to the Jewish leaders and betrays Jesus by telling them, hey, the guy you're looking for, his name's Jesus. Even when we ditch our mat, Jesus offers us forgiveness and life anyway. I love this. Love this. Jesus finds this guy a second time. A second time he makes his way to him. And telling him who he is. And he says to him, remember we read, he says, stop sinning. This is a way that this implies Jesus is offering him forgiveness. Offering him forgiveness. Stop sinning. Live another way. Jesus is offering him forgiveness and new life, right? To live a new way, a different way, a better way. And he could have responded to that in all sorts of ways, right? He could have responded to this spiritual healing that Jesus wanted to do in his life. He could have responded by saying yes, yes. He could have responded by by praising God and thanking him for it. He could have responded to it by maybe running off and telling his friends like we saw last week, if you were here, right, with the woman at the well when Jesus changes her life. She runs off, tells her friends, hey, come meet this guy that changed my life. He could have gone off and found someone and been like, hey, let me tell you about the guy who gave me my legs back. This is amazing. He doesn't do those things. He instead ditches his mat and betrays Jesus, pulls a Judas before Judas was even a thing. And here's what's amazing to me about the story. It's not that the guy dumps his mat and betrays Jesus. What's amazing to me is that Jesus, knowing that the guy was going to do it, knowing that the guy was going to mess up, offers him forgiveness and life anyway. This is exactly what Jesus does in every one of our lives, all of us. Right? What's amazing is not that maybe you have dumped your mat or that you've turned your back on Jesus or that you've messed up or fallen away or walked away. That's not amazing. What's amazing is that Jesus offers you his forgiveness and life, knowing that every one of us at some point in time are going to do that. I mean, this is, by the way, this is true love. This is a picture of love, right? offering forgiveness, hope, healing, life with no strings attached. No strings at all, right? You don't have to give anything back to me. In fact, I know you're going to betray, you're going to turn, you're going to walk away, you're going to mess it all up. Here's what I'm offering you anyway. Here's what I want to do in your life anyway. Jesus is always working. Just as my Father is always working, I too am always working. And Jesus wants to work in your life wherever you may be right now today. I absolutely believe that. So here is the final question for you as I wrap this up. Where are you? Where are you? Are you at a place where you're sitting on your mat, right? You're sitting out there, this place of helplessness. You're feeling, I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm going to die. You're stuck there. Know that if that's where you are, Jesus is standing here saying, I am a constant, stable source of life. I want to offer you healing and hope from the inside out. I know that you have no idea how to get off this mat. You can't make it to the pool, right? Doesn't matter. Jesus has made his way to you. He's offering you this healing from the inside. Maybe you're at a place where you're carrying your mat right now and you feel the pressure of, who am I going to listen to? Am I going to listen to Jesus? Am I going to listen to those people? And that can be a hard pressure to feel, a real struggle to be in. And I just want to remind you and encourage you today that Jesus' voice, listening to him, is always